January 19th to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you take roll, Mary?
Getzinger?
Here.
Job? Here. Hedrick?
Yep.
Swakey here.
I'd like to ask for public comments. Want to step up to the podium? Please.
Thank you. Good evening. Kevin Grand, Armada resident. Couple things, just to put it mildly, this is a very, very, very confusing meeting. You're looking at, make sure I got the right packet here. You're discussing a permit which was supposed to expire tomorrow. According to Eagle, the permit expired on Sunday.
15.
There's invoice, but there's no payment of receipt for said invoice. So I'm just curious exactly how that's gonna actually play out. That was my first question. So if someone could give some background as to actually what's going on, that would be appreciated. The second question was, this wastewater treatment plant, exactly what are they going to be servicing? Are they gonna be servicing the township of Armada? Are they gonna be servicing the area that was taken from Romeo? Exactly what is this gonna be servicing? So if someone could address that tonight, that would definitely be appreciated. Unfortunately, I don't have more information, so I can't ask any more questions, but based on what I've got, those are the only two questions I have at the very beginning. So,
Thank you.
thank you for your time.
Don? Okay. We'll go, move into new business, our wastewater treatment plant permit. I guess we'll make a motion and get a second and do discussion, but I'd like to make a motion to extend the wastewater treatment plant permit held by Chester Zukowski for $1,950 plus there's a late penalty, about 5%.
I mean, I would like to discuss
Me-
it,
me
so I'm
too.
gonna second,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
No,
second it
no, that's
because
fine. That's
we
all-
wanna
that's what it's for.
discuss it,
Right,
cause
yeah.
that's what I wanna, that's, because I
Oh.
thank you, Kevin, for your questions, cause those are some of the things that I have. Why would we do this for a wastewater treatment plant on Powell that's been annexed to Romeo? My reason for saying that, yeah, let's see what he has to say. I wanted to see what it pertained, but we didn't even have this at last week's meeting. And anytime stuff like that happens, like do we need to service our industrial district? Yeah, but that industrial district is gone. It's been annexed into Romeo. So that was my question, and also, again, why didn't we have this last week? And isn't that wastewater treatment plant permit for that designated area? That designated area has been annexed due to Mr. Zahowski, who requested that annexation. So, I mean, I wanna know what real benefits will Armada gain from pursuing this?
Anybody else?
I have plenty of comments. I don't know if you had one to answer any of those.
Yeah, I absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that I got everybody's input before I explained how we got
Gotcha.
to where we are today.
Yeah, thanks, Monica, for seconding. I was actually going to do the same, not because I support the idea, but because we need to talk about it. And maybe I'm needy, but I feel like, just like Kevin said, and Monica, we get into these and we don't have much information, so it's very frustrating for me when we come into something with feeling like it's a rush and not having information. I know this is I know the supervisor said at the last meeting that his intention was trying to keep all options on the table. So tonight is really about him wanting, I think, he's going to explain about keep an option of a wastewater plant on the table. But a real quick side note is we clearly went through this process for the, getting sewer down Powell Road. We couldn't get support from the businesses, and then we couldn't, our financial advisor at that time said we couldn't justify as a township paying $40,000 a year just to allow us to connect to Romeo's system. And so from a big picture perspective, I don't see this as a realistic option because we couldn't pay for the pipe. How are we going to pay for the pipe and the wastewater plant? Now back to the issue today. I don't hate to say this, but I don't think the supervisor understands what this is for. So when Chet, I did some research because I talked to Eagle. I mean, I had offered to sit with the supervisor and call Eagle. I'm not sure if you have and explain that, but I did call him. So Chet, and I think it was, if I remember the dates right, in 2005, he had applied for this is an NPDS permit. It's the discharge portion of the permit, where the state determines what your allowable effluent discharge water quality needs to be. And so you get that approved, and then he applied for a construction permit for a wastewater plant, and that was approved. That construction permit for the plant itself is a 2-year permit, and that is expired, since expired. This discharge permit, in the conversations with the two people I had, I believe that Chester has continued to pay this annual fee to, I guess, guarantee that he didn't lose while he was still considering this option, didn't lose the ability to discharge, say, another business or a municipality upstream or downstream at the creek wanted to build something and built it before him. He didn't want to be denied the ability to construct because there's not enough capacity, say flooding concerns or something. Okay. But when I talked to Eagle, for one, I looked up the permit, and the permit itself doesn't actually expire till October of 2025. It's either a 4 or 5 year permit. So the permit itself doesn't expire till 2025. As the supervisor mentioned, this is past due, so there's a late fee for this annual invoice, which again, he's been paying even though he never built a plant. So this is really, again, guaranteeing his ability to discharge. So we're past this. Besides the fact if it's a realistic idea, the permit's not even expiring. So to me, there's no rush to pay this. It's already late, and that's just the beginning. When I spoke with them, they said one, the plant that Washington Township built is a filtration plant, which is what Chester had applied for because of it's really because of the size of the outfall. He said it's going to be a really expensive plant because it's not the Detroit River that you're dumping into. It's so small that it's very restrictive. It's very restrictive on how you can, because you'll impact downstream. The only time an NPDS permit is transferable, if it is transferable, is if nothing's changed, meaning the technology, the type of plant you're building. If we were to say we're going to build exactly what was approved in 2005, and nothing different, if the service area hasn't changed, which when I looked in 2014, the service area included a significant area of Washington Township and Armada Township. I don't know how all that came about. You may have been part of it because your email address was on that application. Now the service area clearly has changed because Washington Township has built. The location can't change, which Monica brought up. That land's not in the township anymore, so right. Is it realistic that we'd be constructing the plant there? No. And Eagle said, quite honestly, given the time frame since it was initially applied for, they would be requiring us to reapply anyway for an NPDS permit. So he made it sound like, and this is just me talking to one guy, and I'm not an expert, and he was not an expert on this specific site. The one guy was familiar with it, but not the guy I talked to today. So it's not like, this is not guaranteed. I'm not saying this, it's not in writing, but he basically implied you're not going to be able to just transfer this permit anyway. Okay. And he also said that one thing they consider now that they haven't always considered is I forget the term he used, but really has to do with the impact, surrounding impact. They don't want a whole bunch of small plants.
Okay.
He said, you have a plant at Romeo with capacity, you have a plant at Washington with significant amount of capacity. I talked with a contractor yesterday who says that he doesn't know the area, but he's putting in the water main around there for Washington Township. They're getting ready to bid out the sewer, which is gonna go to the mire that's being constructed, so certainly that's gonna be getting closer. I don't know the route, he didn't know the route.
It comes
You
in
know.
across from the Ford Romeo engine plant.
Yeah, that's where he suspected, not necessarily right to that corner, but Eagle did say there's no guarantee that they would allow a plant, given that there's two plants fairly close that
Okay.
have significant amount of capacity. So I said quite a bit there, but that was just in my a short couple phone calls that I had the last 2 days, trying to be diligent because I felt like there was a lot of information that was missing here, maybe not understood. And you know, I know that I'm not an expert on wastewater plants, but I certainly oversee a wastewater plant. So because of that, I felt like I maybe knew some questions to ask, you know.
Sure. You
And
understand
so
a
I'm
lot
happy to
better,
do
yeah.
that, but I do think it's important that we have all that information before we
Yeah.
sit down here and talk. I know it's not a lot of money in the big picture, and Bruce Township has agreed to pay for half, I get that, but I think we don't want to throw good money over bad, you know.
Right.
If this is realistically not gonna come to anything, I would, you know, have a hard time with it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim, for checking into that. I appreciate it.
Okay, at our last board meeting, I asked the board's pleasure as to what direction you'd like me to take with the water and sewer. I told you guys that Chet said that the permit was available, that he'd be willing to allow us to extend it to work to the ends means to use the release that he has. This doesn't guarantee sewer or doesn't build a wastewater treatment plant, although Chet does have the engineering done for the wastewater treatment plant. He still has possession of that, and I brought it to the board for this discussion. This is not necessarily this just gives us time to get answers for those, like you say, and I mean, you talk to somebody and they said some things, but it's not in writing. This just allows us the time to get those things in writing. Whether it flies or not is completely beside us, but I do know that Bruce Township is an even greater interest in extending this permit, and the reason for that is because the additional 100,000 gallons of flow they're requesting from Romeo Village is 1.2 million plus the flow. So it's getting to a point where now they can't even really, they're having a hard time paying for the sewer they have, and they have to look for alternative means. So they're very serious about extending this and trying to figure out a way to utilize it for Bruce Township.
Now, has Bruce Township have you or Bruce Township spoken with Eagle to make sure we understand? I mean,
Well, that's
the things that I had said, have
you
you,
know,
have you called them to
That's
ask
the thing,
if?
because if we let this lapse, although the permit's good for 4 or 5 years at a time, if you don't pay the bill, it'll lapse. It'll lapse. You have to pay the bill to keep it current.
Well, and it's my understanding that they had a board meeting yesterday that Bruce Township would pay for the whole thing if Armada Township did not participate.
One thing I failed to mention was I did ask specifically about concerns of not having capacity if this was not held open and Armada were to build a plant, and they felt like it was highly unlikely that there would be a lack of capacity in the outfall as far as that, just adding
What
to
do you
that.
mean by lack of capacity?
If Chet was in fact holding this NPDS permit open to make sure that he wasn't prevented from building a plant in the future because of outfall, you know, design capacity of the creek, and they had felt like, based on what I was telling them, that that's not going to be a problem given the size plant that would be built here. So from trying to keep this open just to guarantee that we don't lose kind of our spot, our capacity, I don't think that's a concern. So, and you know, I think Bruce Township is in a tough spot. I think that, you know, that's unfortunate for them. I don't think they're going to cover the cost of a plant. You know, if Armada were to build a plant to help them for 100,000 gallons, it's not going to be enough to. They could build, you know, in a sense, they could build a plant.
Well, I just don't understand why they would even do that anyway. That property is annexed into Romeo.
Well, they're
And
DPW. They're DPWs in Armada Township too, so it's municipal property.
That's because they used to spread their, I think the land applied all their sludge from their plant there, and so it's
Right.
contaminated, so they couldn't do anything with it but build on it. Yeah.
So,
That's Romeo DPW, right?
Right.
But I brought this to the board's
right,
attention
Sure,
because
yep.
I was asked to do that.
Sure,
Right.
yeah,
So,
I get that.
Okay.
I-
but I
I-
would just ask that next time, just make sure that we have more information, cause we had nothing other than what Chet said, we had no
but we just-
paper, we had no
this is what we got.
cost or anything.
And he told me that it would expire on the 20th, and when I
Okay.
saw it permitted to say the 15th, I was
Okay.
unaware of that.
So,
And that there's a 5%, I believe, a 5% penalty, so.
okay, well,
Yeah, I get,
is there
just,
any more
I was gonna
discussion?
say, I get your intention and not wanting it crossing off the table. I think based on what I've,
This gives us a year to,
based on what I've found in talking to Eagle, I don't think this matters.
Matters,
As far as
right.
I'm concerned. It doesn't take that option off the table by not approving this permit.
Perrick,
yes.
Job,
No,
Getzinger,
No.
Swacky, no.
Posting of meeting agendas?
Yep. I talked to Christine Anderson about this, well, in our policies and procedures, it says the township clerk shall be responsible for posting all regular and special meetings of the township boards of commissions in conformance with the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Technically, she told me that I need to make a motion, and also update the policies and procedures to include Dawn to post the regular meetings. So I'm gonna make a motion to allow the deputy clerk to post all regular and special meetings for the township boards of commissions and to update the administrative policies and procedures manual accordingly.
I'll second.
So our intention is to update the policy and procedures
Yes.
manual. So do we, is it important that we address this tonight if we're gonna
Yes.
address this the next month?
Having Dawn be able to post that is what I have to do today, so she can post the meetings,
Gotcha.
so. And then,
And of course, my request in the, motion, or my request in the, listing was that I would be, included in that ability.
So, the clerk made a motion, we should, and that didn't include your concern, so
No.
we should probably discuss that one, and then you might have another motion.
Job,
Yes,
Swacky, yes, Getzinger,
Yes.
Perrick.
Yeah. Okay, then I guess I would need to make a motion to include me in the ability to post a meeting in the absence of anybody to post a meeting in the clerk's office.
do you contact the clerk, you have her email, you have her phone number,
Oh,
you can
I've sent
contact
a
the
couple.
clerk.
Well,
I
you
did.
send emails, but the thing is, when you need it posted, you need to call me, and then I'm supposed to call everybody else. Monica didn't even know that there was a special meeting tonight until I texted her yesterday. We've always done that before. You need to call me. So things are done accordingly.
I understand that, but nobody got back to me when I had the
Well,
emails sent out.
well, you sent
and
an
you were the
email.
one that
First of all,
said-
you sent an
And you're
email
the one
on-
that said that you didn't have the ability to post on the web. That was actually under oath, that
But-
you
and Dawn
were
does that.
unable.
That's
Right.
why I'm correcting this, to make sure that it's done correctly. That's what Christine Anderson told me to do.
Right.
So, okay?
And so
I'm getting taken
all
care
I'm
of it.
asking is for the ability to, when necessary, post a meeting.
But supervisors don't do that.
They
Well-
can, but I just don't think that's a wise decision.
And first of all, you probably
John,
wouldn't be doing it,
but-
Robin would be doing it.
Well,
Well, not just
Well,
that, John,
I,
Wouldn't
why
that be
don't we-
wrong?
Why don't we get a second? here?
Yeah, so there
Okay.
wasn't a second.
okay,
If you wanna have a discussion.
okay.
Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of support.
I think that's something we can discuss at the next moment.
Which, policy procedure.
Yeah, I think that's a valid question, I just don't think we're ready to vote on that.
Okay, and then list of contacts. Actually, the request was that we have, again, access to the website, to be able to make, changes or add things that we see fit. I don't think that the website should be locked down. We ended up actually having, Kyle, post the meeting, 'cause,
Right.
yeah, so we had to call the web administrator.
Well, you guys can take care of your own departments. It's just that posting the agendas for the clerk's office. If you wanna make changes under supervisor, if you wanna make a little notice there, that's fine. Chris is doing the planning and zoning.
Mhm.
And even, if
But
Tom needs
again, when we
something
went,
done,
but again,
he
when we went to
contacts
the website, we were blocked, and we had to call Kyle at Shoemaker to get him to get us in.
When you say you were blocked, meaning you just
They don't
didn't
have
have the
a
access?
login.
Login?
Well, we have a login, but the administrator can not allow,
Oh, you mean certain responsibilities, like administrative responsibilities?
yeah, the administrator had us blocked, which was the clerk. And so Kyle, got us through and posted the meeting, so.
So, there's
Well,
a
how does
couple
Chris
things.
able to post things?
Yeah, I
How
was
did she
gonna
get
say.
unblocked?
She
We-
out,
well-
she not blocked.
She has administrative, so it's just a setting.
Yeah, yeah, but
So I want to say a few things. One, the specific instance you're referring to, obviously that's something we've since found out. It's not, you're not currently allowed to do that, and that's something we're going to discuss. Generally speaking, I think making sure everybody's set up properly, making sure there's, one thing we should discuss when we're going through the policy manual is lists of, contacts, reports. We'd like to think that there's a track. It's easy for somebody to take over, but reality is there's a lot of stuff that's in our head. So it may be I think it'd be a great practice, and this is a great idea that you had to have every department kind of list, reporting deadlines, where stuff's sent to, contacts, if there's who our IT, we should have all that stuff. I think that would be good to have all that together in a general sense. I think specifically you're talking about the website, and I think Mary's right. You definitely should have the ability to get on. It certainly would seem appropriate that there's a clear understanding of who's responsible for what, so there's not, we don't ever want to get into the position where somebody posts something that they shouldn't and somebody's taking it off. We shouldn't be in that.
Should be in your own
But
department.
if you need access or want access to the website, like Mary said, Chris has access for planning and she's uploading stuff. And I think that's probably just, my assumption is accidental, or maybe you've never asked for it, and maybe initially when it was set up you didn't need it. I don't know, but I don't see any issues with you getting access to the website.
We should have access to
Yeah.
it.
For certain
For certain
areas.
areas, right.
We have to be very clear, like where I work, I do not have access to anybody but my department. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would, I don't know if the website's set up where it's probably gonna be all or nothing. That's just my guess. Can Chris go onto the clerk's page? My guess is she could if she wanted to.
Don, do you know? We'll find out from Kyle.
Yeah.
Because Dawn can manage, elections, the clerks,
Especially for the clerk who's responsible, you guys are responsible for a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I would be very careful on that. That's why, where I work at like financial aid, I can't get
Right.
in
Yeah,
there.
Can't get in there.
Can't
If
get
it were
into
me,
that
I
at
wouldn't,
all.
I wouldn't want access for sake of screwing something up.
Exactly,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And it's just,
We'll find,
I think
we'll
you
ask
just-
Kyle what the boundaries are and how that
Yeah.
works
and
for
just
each
allow everybody
department.
to get on there and post stuff for a supervisor, need to know, wanna
Okay.
share with the public,
Yep, we'll find out
Not
how to
just
do
Yeah,
that.
stuff.
see
but other
how
stuff.
those responsibilities can be
All right,
separated, I guess, if there's
we can do
different
that.
access levels or something.
No problem. Yep. That'll work.
But again, as far as the contact, not just website, but there's probably a lot of information that, given we're all elected, and there's turnover in all jobs, it may be a good time, maybe once we get it done, it'd be hard this year, but every year possibly at budget time, there could be, let's update this list, of
Yeah,
things.
'cause suppliers change.
Suppliers change, login information changes, I assume you have a master list, or there should be maybe a master list of some of that stuff.
Well,
No, we all have our own.
Yeah, we all
Oh,
have our
okay.
own passwords, and we're
Yeah.
supposed
Maybe
to
it's-
change them, and
And if you can't get into it, then you'd have to contact IT.
yeah,
so we
that's
don't-
what
none of us-
Kyle
should be.
is
Yeah,
the
none
one
of
that
us
got
know
it.
anyone's
Yeah,
password.
but
That's
I'm
the way
just
it should
thinking
be.
too of
Yeah.
reporting responsibilities, so it's not, we're not dropping the ball.
Which is why
so-
Kyle said, he suggests keeping the second administrator, because that's how they have access to the website.
Gotcha. Nope, we can certainly find that out, no problem.
Right, well, that's it, that's what, I got from Chet. I did invite him to be here tonight. He said he had a 4:00 meeting, I wasn't sure if he'd be able to make it. And, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at, 7:25.
I'll second.
Second that.
Oh, go ahead.
All right.